Okay, in this episode of Learning in Public, I want to read this article by Sequoia Capital, uh, which has been suggested by a person that I met yesterday in a video call. The title of this of this article is "Services: The New Software," published in March by Julien Beck. So let's read it. Let me see, maybe I can increase a bit the font so you can read better. So the next 1 trillion company will be a software company masquerading as a services firm. Every founder building an AI tool is asking the same question. What happens when the next version of Claude makes my product a feature? Yes, that's a legit question. They are right to worry. If you sell the tool, you are in a race against the model. But if you sell the work, every improvement in the model makes your service faster, cheaper, and harder to compete with. A company might spend 10k a year for a QuickBooks and 120k on an accountant to close the books. The next legendary company will just close the books. Intelligence versus judgment. Writing code is mostly intelligence. Knowing what to build next is judgment. I totally agree. Translating a spec into code, testing, debugging. The rules are complex, but they are just rules. Judgment is different. It requires experience and taste, instinct built on years of practice. Deciding which feature to build next, whether to take on tech debt, and when to ship before it's ready. A year ago, most cursor users treated AI as autocomplete. Today, more tasks are started by agents than by humans. Software engineering accounts for over half of all AI tool usage across professions. Every other category is still in single digits. The reason is that software engineering is primarily intelligence work. AI has crossed the threshold where it can do most of the intelligence work autonomously and leave the judgment to humans. Software engineering got there first. It is coming to every single profession. Okay, well, we can see that agents are deployed in for 50% software engineering, then back office automation, 7% other, which I'm curious to understand what represents. Then marketing and copywriting, of course, sales and CRM. Okay. Copilots and autopilots. A copilot sells the tool, an autopilot sells the work. Until recently, AI models were still developing intelligence and judgment. So the right approach was to build a copilot first, put AI in the hands of professionals and let them decide what to do with it. Harvey sells to law firms. Rogo sells to investment banks. The professional is the customer, the tool makes them more productive, and they take responsibility for the output. Today, the models are intelligent enough that in some categories, the best place to start is as an autopilot. Crosby sells to the Crosby sells to the company that needs an NDA draft, not to outside counsel. With coverage sells to the CFO who needs insurance, not to the broker. The customer is buying the outcome directly. The work budget in any profession dwarfs the tool budget, and autopilots capture the work budget from day one. The higher the intelligence ratio in any field, the sooner autopilots will win. It's not clear, I'm not sure if this definition of intelligence makes sense here, because if we go back, he the author of this paper, of this article, did not give a precise definition of intelligence. He just wrote that writing code is mostly intelligence, which is functional to create this dichotomy in which writing code is mostly intelligence, but knowing what to build next is judgment. But you have to define what intelligence means in this case. Because again, right after, translating a spec into code testing debugging, the rules are complex, but they are rules. So it seems like intelligence, in this case, in the mind of the author, is basically the ability to understand and for an agent to move inside an environment where a set of a precise set of rules and actions and keywords, so the programming language environment where you have that precise syntax and all the rules of programming, and in that environment an agent can thrive, right? Okay, and this works. This works in this paragraph. Everything works. I agree with the author, with what the author is saying, but when we arrive here, the higher the intelligence ratio in any field, the sooner autopilots will win. Don't know. Don't know. Don't know, it depends on the definition of intelligence, I guess. But let's continue. The convergence. Today's judgment will become tomorrow's intelligence. Today's judgment, so knowing what to build next, will become tomorrow's intelligence. Okay, why? Why? I have a problem with definitions. If what is intelligence? Because in the previous paragraph, the author make a precise distinction between what intelligence is and what judgment is. So intelligence is translating the spec files in code, debugging, testing, etc. in the case of software engineering. But that is not a definition of intelligence. There are a lot of definitions of intelligence. Intelligence is like art. There are everyone knows what intelligence is, but if you want to find a definition, it's not so easy because there are probably close to 70 different definitions, which address different aspects of the problem, let's say. And so the intelligence is that the ability to translate the spec files into code, debugging, testing, etc. in the field of software engineering, okay? But that is not a definition. And judgment, the author said, it's the knowing what to build next. So the ability to understand what is important for other people, for the market, what is good for companies, etc., etc. It's not clear why today's judgment will become tomorrow's intelligence. This sentence doesn't make too much sense in my eyes, but let's continue. As AI systems accumulate proprietary data about what good judgment looks like in their domain, the frontier will shift. Not sure. Not sure because if the well, we should rephrase maybe. I mean, because if the let's stay with the definitions of the author. If judgment is knowing what to build next, you know what to build next if you understand the market, the people, the technology, to summarize, the world where you are operating. Okay, the small world, the big small world in which you are operating. Now, saying that just accumulating proprietary data about what good judgment looks like in their domain and the frontier will shift, I don't know, I do not agree. I'm not sure. Not sure. To me, this sentence is somewhat like let's look at what good investments have been in the past 10 years. Good investments in the biotech industry. And are you sure that by looking at those past data, you will be able to predict the new, to understand which is a new, the best investment to make? Because that is what we are talking about. Saying that accumulating proprietary data about what good judgment looks like in their domain, the frontier will shift, is just like saying that by observing past market data, you'll be able to find and to understand which among the many investing opportunities will be the best one to do. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. So here I strongly disagree with what the author is suggesting. Copilots and autopilots will converge. The co-pilot to autopilot transition has already begun in several categories, but the starting position matters because it determines where autopilot can win customers now and begin compounding the data that will eventually let them handle judgment too. The autopilot playbook. Outsourcing as the wedge. For every dollar spent on software, 6 are spent on services. The total addressable market for autopilots is all labor spent in a category, insourced and outsourced combined. But the right place to start is where outsourcing already exists. Yes, I guess because some way companies are already prepared to outsource the work, outsource the labor. So whether you outsource to to consultants or to agents is basically the same. I mean, there is a conceptual leap to do, but you are already outsourcing, so you are ready to give that work outside. If a task is already outsourced, it tells you 3 things. 1, the company has accepted that this work can be done externally. Yes, that's what I was saying just before. Two, there is an existing budget line that can be substituted cleanly. Okay, right. Three, the buyer is already purchasing an outcome. The buyer is already purchasing an outcome. Okay, yes. Replacing an outsourcing contract with an AI native services provider is a vendor swap. Replacing headcount is a reorg. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. The playbook. Companies should start with the outsourced, intelligence heavy task. Nail distribution, expand toward the insourced, judgment heavy work as the AI compounds. The outsourced task is the wedge. The insourced work is the long term total addressable market. Okay, I see what the author is saying. Crosby started with NDAs, a well defined task, primarily intelligence, that most companies already outsource to external counsel. The budget exists, the scope is clear, the ROI is immediate, and the substitution is frictionless. Okay, plotting opportunity map. Plotting every services vertically on an intelligence to judgment spectrum and outsource to in-source ratio produces a priority map with labor total addressable market in brackets. The list is illustrative. Okay, Copilot territory, management consulting, graphic UX design, executive search, not clear what executive search is, PR and communication. An autopilot instead is insurance brokerage, IT managed services, payroll and compliance, claim adjusting, accounting, healthcare rev cycle, mortgage origination, know your customer, anti-monetary laundering, paralegal, tax advisory, legal transaction, real estate closing, cost estimation. So that would be autopilot territory. Judgment intelligence. Okay. Fund administration is just intelligence. Really? Don't know. Insurance brokerage, largest dollar market on this list. Standard commercial lines are highly standardized. The broker's value add is essentially shopping across carriers and filling forms, pure intelligence work. The use of the word intelligence in this fashion is triggering. Is really triggering. So the fact is that the author writes intelligence, but I think the real meaning behind that word in this context, in this mind, is the possibility to get automated. The distribution layer is incredibly fragmented, tens of thousands of small brokers each running the same process, so no single incumbent controls the customer relationship. With Coverage and Harper are interested in newcomers. Accounting and audit. The US has lost roughly 340k accountants over 5 years while demand has grown. 75% of CPAs, which I don't know what they are nearing retirement. The licensing path is long and starting salaries lag tech and finance. That structural shortage is pushing firms to accept AI faster than almost any other profession. Relay is building the AI native ERP that will close the books. Basis started as a co-pilot for accountants. Healthcare revenue cycle. People hear healthcare and assume it's judgment heavy, but the billing layer is almost pure intelligence. Medical coding is translating clinical notes into 70,000 standardized ICD-10 codes. Don't know what they are. The rules are complex, but they are rules. The outsourcing is already mature and outcome based. An autopilot just has to do the same thing at lower cost. Anterior is the farthest along. Now, I want to stress a bit this sentence. Medical coding is translating clinical notes into 70k standardized ICD-10 codes. In the field of healthcare, you should also consider the cost of an error. If you make an error in software engineering, most of the times nobody dies unless you are programming something like the launch of the space shuttle or something like that, right? In that case, there may be some casualties, but most in the vast majority of the cases, nobody's gonna die. If you make an error in the healthcare industry, that is more likely. So you need to understand if you the automation might have a deadly impact on what you are doing. So not sure that an autopilot in the healthcare industry can really work. Don't know. Claims adjusting. On the other side of the insurance policy, claims adjusting is a separate autopilot surface. Standard line claims are settled by interpreting policy language against damage schedules and setting reserves using actuarial tables. The adjuster workforce is aging out and nobody is replacing them. The market is massively outsourced to independents and TPAs like Crawford and Sedgwick. One industry, at least two distinct autopilot opportunities. Space is building the autopilot for claims handling. Strala is building an AI native TPA. Don't know what TPAs are. Tax advisory, CPAs, licensing. Okay, here Tax GPT is an early mover. Okay, here we have just a bunch of examples and names of firms that are trying to sell autopilots in these different industries. Let's look at IT managed services. Every SMB outsources its IT. So SMB is small to medium businesses. Patching, monitoring, user provisioning, alert triage, intelligence work running on repeat across thousands of identical environments. The existing software layer, ConnectWise Dato, sells tools to the MSP. What's the MSP? Nobody has yet sold your IT runs directly to the company as an outcome. Edra is automating IT processes, Serval is automating IT support. Okay, supply chain and procurement, recruitment and staffing. Okay, recruitment and staffing, the largest services market on this list. The top of the hiring funnel, screening, matching, outreach, is pure intelligence. Well. I don't know. I don't know. I'm. I don't know. But closing a candidate and assessing culture fit is judgment built on years of pattern recognition. Not sure it's correct to talk about pattern recognition in this case. However, the autopilot wedge exists in high volume, low judgment roles where matching is standardized. Juicebox, Mercor, Jack and Jill are emerging leaders building across the spectrum. Management consulting. In 2025, the fastest growing AI companies were copilots. In 2026, many will try to become autopilots. They have the product and the customer knowledge, but they also face the innovator's dilemma. Selling the work means cutting their own customers out of doing it. That's the opening for pure play autopilots. If you are building one, reach out. Honestly, don't know what to think about this article. Mm, mm, I don't know. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Is he Julien Beck? Julien Beck. Discomfort is a privilege. Well, I guess it depends on which discomfort. Backstory. I learned from my parents, a recruiter, and an astrologist. A lot about reading people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Oh, he's a fan of Pink Floyd. Well, good. Um, invest in companies like Revolut and Melio. Well, nice investments. Okay, so what do I think about this article? Don't know. Don't know. Not sure that you can go with autopilots and autonomous agents in all the fields, in all the industries mentioned in this in this article, because even looking at this graph, in what domains are agents deployed? 50% software engineering, but well, okay, you maybe have an agent that does code review focused on, for example, cybersecurity or some security of your application. You for sure can automate the creation of tests, but I don't think that we can completely outsource um, all the software engineering activities to agents. I'm I'm not sure, and I think that along with agents, you still need to have uh, people, software engineers, senior software engineers, software architects that know what they want to build, know the and also entrepreneurs and um, CEOs, CTOs, etc., that know what to build next. I see that agents are deployed in software engineering, but are we sure that agents can replace people in the software engineering ecosystem? I am a little bit skeptic about that. So, interesting article, food for thought for sure, but nothing special, I think. So for this article and for today, that's all. See you in the next one. Ciao ciao.